going on, everybody? Culturedog Sam Hatch back with another Blu-ray Spotlight review, and I had been sent a review copy of a new film from Takashi Miike from Scream Factory, so I was definitely eager to check that out, so I did indeed, and figured I would report back to you guys. And it is called Over Your Dead Body, and the artwork here kind of seems to imply it's not really like Annabelle-ish, but, there is the kind of creepy doll there. It does look tonally similar to any given, like, DVD case you might see or Blu-ray case you'd see in the horror section at a Best Buy. But as you could guess, if you've seen other Takashi Miike films, it's got a different vibe going for it. When the title Over Your Dead Body is actually shown on the title screen in the film, it's this very kind of, it's a little bit more elegant. There's a fish in a fish tank. There's a lot of symbolism in this film, especially with animals. Grasshoppers and centipedes show up later. But yeah, Over Your Dead Body, it's a pretty interesting film. It's been compared a lot to Audition, which is relatively unfair. And mostly people there's not really a complaint per se, but there's a case of Takashi Miike being so prolific. And to be fair, he's been prolific across genres, so he's got plenty of things that aren't, mind-bending horror films. But he's done so many mind-bending horror films that you're, as a viewer, if you're a fan, you're almost immune to pretty much anything he can throw at you, and it starts to become predictable in a fashion. So even if you're enjoying the film and you're enjoying where it's going, you're a little numb to the Miike-ness of it all. This is from a script from Kikumi Yamagishi that's based on the Yotsuya Kaidan, ancient tale that's been spun into tons of movies, etc., or also known as Kwaidan. And it's a traditional ghost story about a spurned wife, a lover, and her husband, who was sketchy, a ronin, a wandering samurai. He was sketchy before they got married, and she was from a wealthy family, and her father was none too keen on this strange man kind of entering in this girl's life, and needless to say, swords may have come into play. And even when this kind of new life is established, there's another neighbor who comes along, and his young daughter is kind of smitten with the main Ronin character, and so an offer's thrown on the table. Hey, why don't you do some foul deeds, and we'll help out, and you can hook up and marry this other girl instead. So, needless to say, things don't go very well, and spiritual vengeance may be on the table. And the premise of this film being that there is a new stage adaptation of the story being produced, and it mostly centers around the main actors within the play. And Ko Shibasaki plays the woman, the wife character, and she has her boyfriend, playing her husband in the play. And everyone else that's the kind of young up-and-coming starlets are all saying how she inspired them, etc. And she doesn't seem super excited about that, mostly because we're certain that her boyfriend's a cad and maybe looking to hop in some different beds, etc. So there's a lot of juxtaposition, even though there's a lot of thematic similarities between the play itself and the character and the actors who play the characters. There's this major visual juxtaposition between the stage life and the external life. And Miike gets to run riot with that, along with his DP Nobuyasu Kita, who paints this amazing 2.35 to 1 scope palette, and gets to really dig into the differing styles. And the set design of the actual play is gorgeous and is worthy of a film itself. And it's amazingly set on this very cool wooden turntable, so that the sets can rotate and you can move from location to location within the play. And it's so cool. There's all these people, obviously, the director and all the other stagehands all have these tables where they're sitting around watching the play go on. And it looks so different than your average, American stage film where there's that, kind of regular amphitheater seating. So that stuff is very lush, and the colors are very audacious and very, primary, a lot of primary colors and in your face. And then you get to the outside world, which is very austere and gray and cold and looks like something that would be out of The Ring or something like that. So that was pretty cool, that mix of style. And I tend to kind of side more with the play section, and there's a lot more screen time, I think, given to the play itself, and that obviously informs the rest of the story, because once this nasty love triangle, and then some, starts turning ugly. It starts turning ugly for the the real life characters, and the main actress isn't super happy with what's going on with her boyfriend, and she thinks she might be pregnant. And I don't want to spoil anything, but the interesting thing is that Takashi Miike does flip the script. He does mess with things and mess with your perception of reality. And like I mentioned before, people might be fairly immune to that. But he does hold back a little bit. And that's not necessarily a bad thing in this film. This has been compared to Audition a lot, but I don't think it would have the same impact, even if you're coming at Miike's work afresh. If you watched Audition as the first film and this is the first film, I don't think this would have that same impact as Audition did. That thing just scars you and just rapes your mind, essentially, and you're never the same again after seeing it. This does mess with you and make you question things, especially in the plot. But nothing too crazy. And there is some nasty things going on with genitals and lots of blood. But after having seen films like Lars von Trier's Antichrist, and then of course Miike's other work like Gozu with some crazy stuff going on with people's genitals, then this is a little tamer. Not to say that's a family film by any means, because there's some nasty thematic stuff here, but Miike does actually keep a lot of the really, really grody stuff off camera. But there's still plenty of blood. Fear not. There's an entire apartment covered in blood, basically, in one scene. And some really good special effects, some makeup effects, etc. But yeah. So yeah, a lot of people are calling it a misfire and one of Miike's lesser work, but I actually really enjoyed this a lot, and largely because of the play scenes. It almost reminded me of when, harkening back to Lars von Trier, when I was completely and utterly surprised that I fell in love with Dogville, because I fully anticipated to hate that going into it. So that the same kind of the stagecraft and the sound of it all and the vibe of it all really kind of sunk its hooks into me. So I really enjoyed the slower paced portion of the film. The first half is definitely a slow burn. But so other people thought it was boring, but that stuff really had me engrossed. So I dug it. I liked it. So yeah, having been a fan of Miike's work, I didn't get to see any of his stuff in theaters. I think Audition might have played locally to me, but I mean, for the most part, it was always DVDs, and that's how you saw his films. And a lot of times those DVDs didn't really service the look of the film that well, and especially in his darker scenes. So it was a treat seeing a Miike film in glorious high definition 1080p. And indeed, there's a lot of love scenes and scenes in the dark here that are almost lit exclusively with the color blue. And that would just look like a murky mess usually on earlier video incarnations. So in something like this, it's so cool to actually be able to see, crisp delineation of details in some of the darker scenes. So the daytime stuff is often very rainy in the real world, but still very heavy on contrast and bright, grays and stuff like that. So it looks very modern in that stuff. But then the scenes with the plays also very rich in color, and I love the look of it overall. I thought it shined in HD, and I didn't see any pixelization or black crush or anything like that. So it's the best I've ever seen a Miike look on home video. So that was a treat. There are a few audio options on here. There's Japanese 2.0 and 5.1 DTS-HD master audio tracks. And there's also a 5.1 English dub. And I forgot to listen to the English dub, so many apologies for that. But I did listen to the 5.1 Japanese track, and that's really part of what made me fall in love with the film. It's not very aggressive in terms of, obviously, explosions and car chases and stuff, but it's very immersive in its sound field, and especially in the theater. I loved how it captured the sounds of all the wood and all the different actors or even just people involved in the production kind of swirling around you in the room and having these little side conversations. It was just very realistic, and that helped to enhance the mood so much more than just a flat stereo or even mono production would have. So I love when kind of simpler type of film that's just about actors acting and even without all the crazy drama and the psychoses and all that stuff, when it's just people in a room talking, how it can be brought to life and enhanced more with a great 5.1 surround soundtrack. So I love the sound of it, and the score by Koji Endo was very nice. Not explosive or anything like that, but gave a nice feel to it, and yeah, I highly recommend checking out the Japanese track. So I'll take a peek at the English one too, just to see how the dub was. I'm always intrigued as to how well the dub was pulled off. What about special features? Well, there are none. This is one of those titles, it seems, where Scream Factory is trying to capture the new horror video market as well. And this is one of those titles where they're trying to bring a new Japanese film over here as quickly as possible. So it is still a bit of a surprise that there are no extras at all, no like video interview with Miike or one of the actors or actresses. But on the flip side, you do get the film in very nice, 1080p high definition video and some great audio on there as well. But it would be nice to see something, maybe maybe not necessarily a full commentary track or something, but just some little video segments or something like that. Maybe in the future there'll be another issue. But for now, this is a pretty cool release. If you're a Miike fan, you'll want to check it out. There's a lot to leave you thinking about afterwards in terms of symbolism, between the grasshoppers and the centipedes, fish and all that stuff, and how it ties in to the world of the play and how that spills over into the lives of the actors. And then, of course, there's major heaves in the linear narrative that just kind of throws you off balance, and you have to kind of figure out what's real or what's not real. Very David Lynchian at times. A lot of the slower parts of the film made me think about David Lynch, and that's actually what I liked about the film the most, was less the kind of more supernatural elements, but just the kind of weird vibe and the slow build of it all. Yeah, that's what really sucked me in the most. So what people were complaining about being boring, I thought was the most enthralling aspects of the film. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what Miike does next, but this may be a kind of minor entry in his filmography, but I thought it was definitely worth checking out. So let me know what you think, if you're either a fan of his films or just Japanese films in general. Let me know. And I should mention too, for most of my Blu-ray reviews, there are shortcuts on there. I had fielded some concerns from a commenter today who just does not appreciate my talking head nature, and obviously because of some serious content policing, even if I have the permission to use video footage of films, robots do not care about that, and they will hammer you and take your channel away before you can say ha-ha. And so yeah, I'm unfortunately loath to include a lot more dynamic kind of visual presentation, and I know that freaks people out, but yeah, you have to look at this mug. But if you do want to skip a lot of my ruminations, you can go to different sections of the video. So if you just want to see what the video quality is or the audio quality is, you can jump to that in the description below. I've always got links for that stuff. So if you want to tell that dude to shut the heck up, you could just, bam, skip to it. But if you did watch the whole video, hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you soon. Some more Spotlight reviews. I got my Blu-ray collection videos going out, and all sorts of cool stuff. So, Happy New Year. Hope you guys enjoy some nasty, twisted horror films.